Hello, welcome to another episode of the Mindful Introvert podcast. I'm Joe, and I help busy go getters avoid burnout by creating a more peaceful life through meditation and unconscious reprogramming. And today I have a very special guest. I have here with me Tehmina Brohi, and she is a Pakistani born New York City cultivated citizen of the world. She is the founder and owner of Istani, a clothing and lifestyle brand that travels across the planet to find original craftsmanship and transform it into products for a contemporary audience. She is also a business consultant and guides individuals interested in turning their passions into entrepreneurial adventures. The values that guide her work are creativity, collaboration, and joy and fun. And she has a lot of wisdom that she's going to share about her own spiritual journey, the tools that she learned, and the beautiful life that she manifested for herself. So if you're interested in knowing more about this topic and if you're interested about hearing her story, stick around and enjoy. Hello, everyone. Here we are with another special guest today. I have Tehmina, and I'm very, very happy that you're here with me, Tehmina. Thank you so much. And would you like to tell everyone a little bit more about you?
I'd love to. Thank you for having me here today, Joanna. So I'm Tehmina Brohi. I currently live in New York City. I'm of Pakistani origin. I was born and raised in Pakistan, immigrated to the United States when I was 11 years old with my family. Been in New York since then and been traveling around the world quite a bit. Um, I am also the founder and owner of Istani, which is a clothing and lifestyle brand, which is inspired totally by my South Asian roots and my New York City upbringing. And what I do with Istani is I travel across the planet to find original craftsmanship and turn it into pieces for a contemporary audience. So it's really just an inspiration. It comes from my roots and how much New York City has inspired me. And I also, for my day job, I work as I develop programs and projects to support small businesses and entrepreneurs, particularly from low income communities or entrepreneurs of color that are interested in starting their business, or if they're just feeling sort of stuck and are looking for some resources and support to level up. So that's what I'm up to.
Oh my God, that is so amazing already. And so, for those of you that don't know you, and we came to meet each other through Manifestation Babe because we are doing the Manifestation Babe Academy. And for those that don't know, this is a manifestation, obviously, type of course. And so, how did you get into your personal development journey, spiritual journey?
I think I've actually been thinking about this question since you've contacted me to be on the podcast. And it doesn't, I can't pinpoint one
Yeah.
time that it started. I think I thought of so many stories that came up and I was like, where does my spiritual journey begin? And I think about, so I was raised in Pakistan, I was raised in a Muslim household, and I think about my grandmother, whenever there was like a challenging time in the family, or there was like a question that like we needed an answer to, there's a special kind of prayer in that I grew up seeing in my household in Islam. It's called istikhara, and I don't know exactly what it means, but this is the name of the prayer that they would do. But my grandmother would literally like roll out her prayer mat and just sit on her prayer mat and say prayers for hours and hours, and she would kind of go into a trance and fall asleep and then have dreams, and then those dreams would sort of be interpreted to like give the answer to the questions, and they have tended to be so spot on. So I think that's one thing that really comes up when I think about the beginning of my spiritual journey, was just witnessing my grandmother having this like connection to God, a higher being, and getting answers in her dream and then interpreting them for us. And I don't think we called it spirituality. It was
Mm.
just the religion and the rituals that I grew up in. But I think I've been around spirituality ever since I was a kid. I think just being raised in a Muslim household, and Islam has so many varieties depending on the country you're in and the household you're raised in. the way that I was, you know, raised in Islam was really, to me, I feel like the things that stand out and that have continued on with me was about energetic exchanges. You know, it was a lot about like what you put out is what comes back. So I think that was like convoluted and like, there were some things in there that I no longer agree with, but I think I would have to say that that upbringing is really what got me started. And then there's been like teachers and mentors and enlightenments and things that I've had along the way. I've started meditating in my early 20s, started doing breath work around the same time, was into yoga. um, my sister has been a big influence on my spirituality. She's always been like really connected to nature and talking about stones and water and all these different things. And so I can't pinpoint a specific point. I think it's been in my life ever since I was a child. And then it's
Hmm.
grown and evolved. And now I embody it in my very own unique way.
Oh, yeah. And that is a question that I would actually like to ask you because I see a lot of people do a lot of courses and take all of this learning in and not embodying it. So, what advice would you say at first and foremost? What is this embodiment that we always hear about? What would you say embodiment? How do you embody your learnings and your wisdom?
I think the answer varies from person to person, but for me, the clearest answer I've come away with it right now is like the first thing to me that comes to mind is it's being really clear for me is being really clear with what my value and intention is. And when I stand in that place, whether that's in business, in work, in friendships, in whatever kind of relationship, to me, when I am clear on what my values are and what my intention is in that space, to me, that's embodying it. To me, that's, I don't know, that creates like, that makes me feel so grounded and open that like I'm grounded in who I am and I'm open to all the possibilities of how this may actually happen because I know what my values are and what my boundaries are or are not. So I think that's my answer. I think it varies from person to person, but to me, that's really what it is. And I think I'll also point like this idea of embodiment has also evolved for me through this course that we've both been a part of.
Mhm.
And it never made sense to me, the idea of like believe it, believe that you have it,
Yeah.
and I think it never made sense to me because I was thinking very logically, and I think what I'm realizing is that time is not as linear as we would have it believe, and I can't explain that more than that. But I like very much believe in my body now that time is not that linear, right? Like there's this Tehmina that's sitting here having this conversation with you, and there's a Tehmina that's like, running her business full time, doing the like, and there's
Yeah, another
also
dimension.
another dimension and all of that. So I think it, that's a big part of embodiment. I think for me to like, it was a big part of embodiment for me to take away the logic of time and space and then be like, oh, all these things that I want are already here. And then the embodiment made sense to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah,
Yeah.
values and then letting go of logic a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think it is important. I think it is important to have a balance because I thought of myself to be very logical. And at some point, I thought that it was blocking my spirituality because I believed somehow that you couldn't be both. You couldn't be spiritual and be logical. You couldn't be creative and be analytical. And so that is a misconception that I'm going through as well. And I'm just erasing that from my mind or reframing it rather. And what would you say was the most surprising aspect of this journey, this spiritual journey you've been on?
For me, the thing that surprised me the most is, well, first of all, how little these ideas of right and wrong spirituality really matter, and I was so happy to come across one of the first posts that I had seen from Catherine, who is the founder of this course that we're a part of, was when she was like, yeah, I say fuck all the time. And I was like, yes, I can curse and be a good spiritual person, because like, I mean, and it felt so good to hear that because the way I speak is such an important part of how I express myself. And to realize that, like, in spirituality, some of these things that we think of good or bad are not good or bad. It's an expression of who you are. And even like, and I'm doing a lot of work around like desiring the things that I thought, I mean, money, right? Like when
Hmm.
I had these ideas around money where I was like, oh, like these kind of people want a lot of money, or having money makes me worse or better. So, like, I think letting go of all of that has been enlightening, and like it just made me feel lighter. But it's also been surprising that these ideas of good and bad don't really fit into these logical ideas of good and bad that we have don't necessarily fit into the spiritual framework. And I think the second thing that for me has been, again, surprising and also has made me feel a lot more like myself through this process is I believed that you had to do these rituals, right? Like you had, if I was pulling tarot cards today, I have to pull tarot cards like every other day, or there has to be a frequency to the way that I do it. And letting go of all of that and realizing, whether it's tarot cards or it's my stones or it's just a meditation or it's like, I don't know, or it's like taking a bath, right? Whatever it
Hmm.
is, that I don't have to like force myself to do these rituals in a certain way. It's about being open to which tool is the best thing for me to use in the moment, and applying that tool to the current situation. So I
Yeah.
think that's made a huge difference in like making me feel a lot less stressed, and also surprised how effective that has been for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely relate to that because I felt like in order to be successful, you have to wake up at 4 a.m. and you have to have your workout done by 6 a.m. and you have to be, it's just so exhausting, isn't it? Just having these standards for ourselves, it is just so, so exhausting. And you can't keep up. It's just so much pressure that you're putting on yourself. And all of this routine, for some people, it definitely works because not
Yep.
everyone is the same. So some people really do really well in routines and having structure to their day, but some people have that flow and need that flexibility in their schedule where they do as they please. But the important part of it is, like you said, have everything in your tool belt and then just decide which one you should use or you want to use for each occasion. And that is a lot of self-awareness, isn't it? That is just having a lot of self-awareness and just connecting with your mind and your soul and your body and just deciding, okay, so what do I need now? What is
Yep.
that thing that is going to help me? And so, would you like to share some? I know that you mentioned a few, but what tools do you like the most and you apply the most?
Well, that's a good question. I would say meditation and breath work are my go-tos. Like, you know, I had a similar thing where I was like, oh, my alarm goes off at 7:40 and I snooze till 8:30. This is not good. Like, I have to get out of bed at this time. And one morning I woke up and I am very blessed to have these like beautiful big windows where the sun comes in, and like, I was like, wait, no, if my alarm goes off at 7:40, I can get up and I can just like lounge around in bed and enjoy the sunlight. Um, and I like, in my like half awake, lazy mode, like wake up and I'll put on a meditation on my phone, and I'll just close my eyes and lay there and take in the sun and like meditate. And that just like taking the pressure off of myself to like get up at a certain time, and then still incorporating this meditation, which is really um been a useful tool for me, has changed how I start my day. So I would say meditation, I gave you that one example of how it's useful, but and then breath work. I feel like oftentimes like my ego is in overdrive, or I have anxiety, or when I don't have clarity, it literally feels like physiologically I just need to get some oxygen to my brain and like tell my brain that like it's okay, we're good, we'll figure this out. So I think those two things have worked really, really well. And I was going to say a third one, which popped in my head and now it's gone. So I said meditation, breath work. Oh, physical activity.
Mm.
I think people might not consider this spiritual, but for me, like when I'm super tense, just like getting on a treadmill and running or just doing jumping jacks. Again, like this is something that I have been doing for so long, but didn't realize that this was a spiritual tool that I had. But I would say physical activity in whatever shape or form. I mean, I know everybody's unique, but like this is one thing that I would prescribe to everyone. Like just some sort of physical activity, even if it's just like stretching or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where our bodies are made to move.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that actually my connection to my body is also super like important tool in my spirituality for me.
Definitely, definitely. And I feel like the tools, I love the tools that you said because I do them myself and I try to incorporate even more to my day. But I feel like all of the things that you said are so simple that people sometimes disregard their value almost. And they say, you
Mhm.
know what, why should I just sit just lying or just for 20 minutes or 5 minutes or however long it is? And trying to blank my mind, so there is a lot of misconception around meditation. There is a lot of misconception, especially with breath work and even moving the body. It seems so simple, but those simple things sometimes are the ones that have the most impact, I feel like. Because you might think, a lot of people that are listening might think, oh, why meditate? It's just so boring or so waste of time. I could be doing so many things in my day. But to me, meditation, it's almost like it expands my day because it gives me more options. And I feel like that's all there is to personal development, is giving you more options, is bringing you the awareness, and is bringing you more options for you to choose from, and having all of those tools that you're saying. And that is what's going to help you change what you don't want to change, improve what you want to improve, and change what you don't want to change. I just said that wrong. Change what, well, you don't like, and improve the things that you want to improve. And it's just like, I just have this beautiful sunset in front of me, so I'm just getting distracted.
Okay, got it. Got it.
Sorry, you guys can't see, but it's amazing. So it is that idea that to create more options. And would you say that the spiritual journey you're on created more options for you? And if so, which ones?
Ooh, I love that question, Joanna. And I also love how you've really put words to how I feel after I meditate. Expansive is the exact right thing. Like I come away from a meditation literally just feeling like, whoa, the world just opened up and I didn't even have to do anything.
Yeah, it's so
Kind of how it
simple, isn't it?
feels. It's so simple. It's maybe not easy to quiet your
Mm,
mind because of the
mm,
world we live in, but it's so simple. So I just want to second that and like highlight that for the listeners also, that that is literally what meditation does. It just,
yeah.
you sit there for 20 minutes, you connect to uh, the source or whatever you need to do,
Mm,
clear things up, and you come away and you're like, oh wait, my world just opened up. So seconding that, and then you said, would I agree that spiritual development is about having more options? Was that
yeah.
the question?
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah, there's it's funny because I call them possibilities. So just a
Mm-hmm.
semantics thing.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
I think you're right. It's just about, and I haven't thought about it like you've just framed it. So I'm like coming up with my thinking around it as I'm speaking. Um, I think it's about, yes. So here's what I would say. Yes, it's about realizing that you have a lot more, that there's a lot more possibilities to create than what you previously thought was possible, but
Mm.
also having the self-awareness and the connection to yourself to know which possibilities to plug into and how and why you're doing it.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. The why to me was always the most important question. I would ask when I was a kid, why? Was those annoying kids, why? I want to know why. And throughout my whole education, like my uni and everything, I was always asking why. I think I've even mentioned on the podcast before, but when I was in fifth grade, I asked my science teacher why we were on this earth. And so poor guy, imagine. And I was asking always why. And I was always in search of my purpose. And then when I it was when I stopped and when I connected with my body and my mind, like you're saying, and I went through this spiritual journey that I'm also going through right now. It just opened my mind to the expansiveness of the universe. I don't even know if that's a word, but if it's not, it started to be right now. That just the possibility that the universe creates for you to live the life that you desire, and having that why always present um, really helps to know where you're going a little bit. But I would say that it has been difficult for me to release the how, because sometimes we know where we're going, and we, even with manifestation, we want to manifest something, and we pressure the universe so much. Give me an answer, give me a meaning, or give me a direction. What should I do? How, when I will I have this? And it's just so much pressure that we put on ourselves and the universe, and then nothing happens, and then we get frustrated, and it's just a cycle that gets into overwhelm and even more resistance, and then disbelief and all of this. So how would you break this cycle, and how would you create more faith and more belief into your life and to whoever lives is listening? I always ask difficult questions, sorry.
How would I break the cycle? I'm thinking because, I feel like I can give a very real time example from my life of how I am working on this. And I guess I'm just trying to think through like how do I break the cycle for myself? Because I have a clothing brand,
Hmm.
right? So like there are a lot of times where I've put out a vision and been like, this is how much money I'm gonna earn from this launch, and this is what's gonna happen. Um, how do you break the cycle? You know,
Or how do you release the house and you just let it go and let the universe take care of it?
Joanna, for me, it's been about going back into my life and finding evidence for like when things just have miraculously happened for me and I just like didn't even know that it was coming my way, So, for example, like I think back to like 2016, I was in a full-time job and on paper the job looked great. Um, Internally, after 8 months or so, I was miserable, right? And I remember I was working at this job and I kept on saving money. And I like was like, I don't know what I'm saving money for, but I'm just gonna keep on saving this money. I like abruptly left that job and I left New York and I went to live in Mexico for 10 months. And that's what I used the money for. To like take a break and like get away from New York, get away from like the toxic workplace that I was in. And I'm giving this example because this is the biggest example I come back to where I'm like, oh, I was doing something and I didn't even know what I was doing it for. And then this beautiful thing got created in my life. And it was always a dream of mine to go live in a warmer climate where I could go and improve my Spanish and just live an artist's life. And that's exactly what I got to do without like putting any pressure on the process. I had no idea that I was going to go to Mexico 8 months before. I had no idea that I was going to end up in this beautiful house full of artists and creatives that I'm like still friends with and like have built now lifelong friendships with, a country that in the city that I fell in love with. It got me to exactly where I needed to be without me doing anything, without me going through like a really terrible work
Mm,
situation, which I learned so much from also. Um, but I try to give, for me, I try to give myself evidence, and that has happened in my life so much, right? Like I remember I was actually having this moment last night where I was like looking around my apartment and I was like, oh my God, I remember when I was like 14 years old on the train with my mom being like, when I'm like I don't think I put an age on it, but I like had a vision of myself living in my studio apartment with like a lot of light and you know,
There you
what
are.
15, 16 years later, here I am. So I think that's what really grounds me to be like, ooh, I have already, without knowing it, I have this connection to the universe. I've already manifested so many things. Joanna, when I was 18, I remember I graduated from high school. I was 18 and I remember, or no, maybe I was 20. I was like finishing up college and I remember this so well. I was like in the dining room with my brother or someone and I was talking. I was like, yeah, maybe by the time I'm like 27, 28, if like career doesn't work out, I'll just like do something with like, crafts from textile from Pakistan, and I'll like bring them to the United States and I'll make a business out of it. But we'll see. Like I'm going to pursue this career thing. At 27, I had this terrible experience at the job that I was at, left, went to live in Mexico, and started my own clothing and lifestyle brand, bringing textiles from Pakistan to the
Oh my
United States
God,
and selling
that's
them.
amazing.
So I think this is a very specific story, but for me, that evidence is what works for me. Like,
Yeah.
I think if we really tune in, a lot of us have a lot of that evidence in our lives than we realize. Um, so I hope that's useful. I know these are like very special gifts that I've and experiences that I've had in my life. And I also believe that there are these moments in other people's lives, and maybe they're not as positive, right? Like I've
Mm.
also like manifested relationships that have been really toxic because of my mindset about who I am and what I deserve or what I am or I'm not worthy of. So
Yeah.
I can also see that side of it. So I think, I guess that logical part of me still wants evidence. And I'm like, oh, if I've
Yeah.
done this in the past, then I'm going to keep on doing it. I just need to surrender and have faith. And then I think for me, the manifestations that I'm focusing on right now are really focused on my business. And I've started my business like without a doubt, a shred of doubt in my mind that this is my life's purpose. And it's going to grow into something that I cannot even imagine right now. And it's going to bring out stories and experiences and resonate with people in a way that's going to like shift other people's realities. I 1000% believe that. So I think starting with that, and because it's such a personal story and it's a connection to my roots, and I got so clear on why I'm doing this, like I know this is bigger than me. This is about my ancestry that's come before me. This is about women in my heritage that are going to come after me. Just having that clarity before I started is also what's just like, this is going to happen because I know my whole spiritual team, like my
Yeah.
ancestors and my guides are on my side. So I also have the privilege and blessing to like have such a like have found my purpose and have such a clear vision around it. But I don't think, what I want to say is I've done it and anybody can do it, right? Like because
Yes.
I have found my purpose at a different time than someone else who's listening might have, but I found my purpose and I've created a clear vision around it. To me, that's the formula, if there
Yeah.
is any formula ever. And I guess beyond evidence, I would say that get and I know this sounds hard, but I I would say get clear on your purpose and your vision around it. And then to me, that's you're just like, well, of course I'm going to do this. I came to this planet to do this. And it just happens like that, I think.
Yes.
And I can share a little bit more about that too, about like aligning more with your purpose, and stepping more into it. But yeah, that's how I let go of the how, is
Yeah.
getting
That's
evidence, but then
amazing.
also having being just like knowing my purpose and having a vision around it.
Yeah. And I think another thing that it's funny that you didn't mention, but it's interesting to see it from an outside perspective is that you didn't give up. When things got tough, you pushed through it and you didn't give up. So I think that adds to the mixture of you
Mm.
succeeding and of you finding your purpose. Because some people, oh yeah, I want to find my purpose, but then when things get tough, they're like, oh, you know what? I'm more comfortable reverting back to my old ways and not doing the inner work. And so, doing the inner work is something that can be very challenging. And right now we are on this path that we are experiencing some resistance sometimes. And how would you say, what advice would you say to people that are feeling this resistance and they are not getting in touch with their intuition? What would you say to those people?
I mean, I think there's so many reasons that there's so many reasons why people aren't able to get in touch with their intuitions that are personal, that are individual to people. But I think for me, the biggest thing that um, gives me grounding is not fearing the darkness. When I go through really dark times, I am whatever I am, right? I'm angry, I'm anxious, I'm
Mhm.
pissed off. And with all those things, I am thrilled that I'm going through a darkness, right? Like I own it. If I'm upset and I'm angry, I am upset and I'm angry and I make no apologies for it because I know that this is how I need to be right now to get to whatever's on the other side of it, right? If I'm crying or if I'm eating bad or if whatever it is, I just embrace it. I don't resist it. And that like I'm trying to think, that took a while to get to. And I'm trying to think of what that process was like to see if I have some insight to share with your listeners. Um,
Yeah.
I want to say, yeah, I want to say, I think because I started meditating
Hmm.
in like my early 20s, just sort of like, and doing yoga and that mind body connection, I think has something to do with it. I can't articulate exactly what it is, but I think that has something to do with like feeling grounded even through the darkness and all that. I mean, I'll give you an example. The reason that I am here today talking to you, and the reason I even joined Manifestation Babe Academy was because in December, January, I went through a heartbreak that broke me down. Like it got me, I lost confidence. I was on the brink of losing total confidence in myself and the business that I had started. I alienated myself. I was angry with all of my friends. And I did it. And like I remember I sent my brother a really angry text and I was like, you don't care about me. And then I called him later and we talked about it. And I was like, look, I was hurt. So I wanted to hurt someone else. And that's what I did.
Yeah.
So I apologize. And I'm giving all these examples to say, like, when I go, all for me, it's like all the resistance that comes up, all the darkness that comes up, the bad feelings, I just let it be because I know what's on the other side, right? Because on the other side of that heartbreak where I lost like almost all confidence in myself and my business is this Tamina that has stepped into
Yeah.
herself so boldly and loudly, right? That like people are really recognizing that and are resonating with that. So I think the only way out is through, and I had a mentor, a spiritual mentor who was like, there are people that who was like the epitome of people come into your life for a reason and a season, right? She
Hmm.
came into my life, she got me out of a shitty relationship, she got me out of a shitty job, and then we had like a friend breakup that was like so big. And then I went on with the rest of my life. But she really like she was the one who taught me that. She was like, the only way out is through. The only way out is through. She would keep on saying that to me. And it's really stuck with me. And that's sort of what like, if you have a vision of who you want to be and there's work that you need to do and it seems tough, the only way out is through. There's no shortcuts around this. And you know what? No, I don't know what I was going to say with that, but there's no shortcuts around it. That's it. You got to go
Yeah.
through it. You got to go through the darkness, and it's just so liberating on the other side.
Yeah, oh my God, I love that message. It's so inspiring and empowering. So thank you so much for that. Yes, the only way through it, the only way. Oh my God, say it again. I'm
The
confused.
only way out is through.
Yes, that's it. And
Yeah.
just let it be. Whatever comes is there for a reason, is there to bring something to your awareness, is bring something so that you can pay attention, so that you can heal and you can go through it
Yeah.
if you let it be. So amazing message. Would you be able, well, I know we've mentioned so many things already, but would you be able to summarize our whole conversation in about three key points? Maybe like the tool. I know I make this difficult for you guys. So maybe like the tools um, that you like and you recommend. Maybe the thing that you said about the why and your purpose and how you connect to that.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit of, and obviously this one is the last one. The only
Yeah.
way out is through. So that is a very powerful message.
Yeah, I'm just going to take your suggestions and make them into the three key points then. So the first one for me is the tools that, so first of all, I think um, there's no prescribed formula for how
Yeah.
you connect to your spirituality. You learn different tools and modalities, and you create your toolbox, and you cultivate your intuition and self-awareness to know when to use which tools. So there's no formula for what works for who in what situation. So that's the first thing I would say. um, and then the second thing was what's helped me in terms of surrendering with the how,
Yeah.
surrendering the how in a situation when I'm trying to manifest something is getting really like finding my purpose and then cultivating a clear vision around it to know what it is that I want to share with the world and bring into the world. And then persistence in
Mhm.
your work is what helps me surrender to the how. And then lastly, for folks who, you know, might be having trouble connecting to their intuition or want personal growth and evolution, but are finding it difficult to connect because of negative feelings or resistance that's coming up, I would say dive deeper into it. Like really let the shadows come out. It's hard to remind yourself that you're safe. Make sure that you can cultivate a safe space for that.
Mhm. Yeah.
You should have people that you can count on, or yourself, or journaling. But the only way out is through. So you,
Yeah. Oh
yeah.
my God, that's amazing, amazing message. That's I'm so happy that you're here sharing all of this wisdom because this is
Thank
gold.
you.
And
Thank
how
you.
can people connect with you on social media and how can they work with you as well?
Yeah, so if you want to learn a little bit more about my brand, it is on Instagram. It is at underscore Istani. So it's at underscore Istani. And there you'll see all of the work that I'm doing with the clothing and the lifestyle brand. And feel free to send me a DM and a message, and I'd be happy to connect with people. Um,
Amazing, amazing. I'll leave everything in the show notes.
okay.
So,
And
yeah.
then for your listeners, Joanna, I also want to offer, I can send a scheduling link, but I'm going to open up some availability for your listeners. You can just DM me, or whatever is easier. We'll figure
Mhm.
out how to connect folks.
Yeah.
Is I'm offering, I'll offer 30-minute consultations starting next week into April, for folks who want to pick my brain about entrepreneurship, especially, and spirituality and entrepreneurship, or particularly around those topics. So I can open
Yeah.
up 30-minute small consultations around entrepreneurship and spirituality if your listeners are
Ooh,
interested. Just send me a,
amazing.
yeah, just let me know that you heard about me in on Joanna's podcast.
Yes, amazing, amazing. This episode was so enlightening. If I could have just taken notes for myself, I would. But the thing is that this will be on the podcast, so I can always go back to listen to it and
Great.
drink from your wisdom. So
Awesome.
thank you so much for being here. I was so, so happy to have you here. I hope you enjoyed being here as
Good.
well.
Yes. Thank you so much, Joanna. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share. I've been looking for an opportunity like this. I feel like I have things to share and I want people to learn from what I've gone through. So thank you for the
Yeah.
opportunity.
Thank you so much. And
Okay.
to everyone, I will see you next episode. Bye.